crochet lovers, and welcome to my channel Spaß mit Faden. Today I want to crochet together with you this beautiful strawberry potholders. As you can see, they've turned out very beautiful and I've actually crocheted them very fast. Please make sure to subscribe my channel, and we want to start now crocheting our lovely strawberry potholders. To crochet now together with me your strawberry potholders, you'll of course need some green and some red yarn. I've crocheted my strawberry potholders with less than 50 grams of each color. You'll need a 3mm hook, some scissors and a yarn needle, and you'll need some stitch markers. If you don't have 2 stitch markers, you can of course use safety pins as well, or even mark your work with leftover yarn. And I really hope that you now enjoy the instructions. I want to start to crochet my strawberry potholders by grabbing up my green yarn first. And with my green yarn, I now want to create a slip knot. Then I want to grab my hook and insert it into that slip knot and pull the slip knot very tight. I want to start crocheting my strawberry potholders now by chaining 6 first. For chain, I always want to yarn over and pull my yarn just through the loop on my hook. This was my first chain, my second chain, number 3, my 4th chain, my 5th and my 6th and last chain. And now I want to close this whole chains up to a little circle by crocheting 1 slip stitch into the very first chain. For a slip stitch, as I said, I want to insert my hook into that very first chain. Then I want to yarn over and pull my yarn through all the loops on my hook. And as you can see, we've just created a little circle now. I now want to start crocheting my very first round by chaining 3 for the beginning. Then I want to work double crochets into that circle. For a double crochet, I want to yarn over and insert my hook, as I said, into that circle, yarn over again and pull my yarn through the circle out again. And as you can see, I have 3 loops now on my hook. I want to yarn over and pull my yarn through the first 2 loops on my hook. I've got 2 loops left on my hook and I want to yarn over and pull my yarn now through the last 2 loops on my hook. This was now our very first double crochet, and we want to crochet into that little circle now 11 double crochets. For my second double crochet, I want to yarn over, insert my hook again into that circle, yarn over and just pull my yarn again out of the circle. And as you can see, I have 3 loops. I want to yarn over, pull my yarn now through the first 2 loops. Then I want to yarn over and pull my yarn through the second 2 loops on my hook as well. This was now my second double crochet. And I just want to continue now to crochet into my little circle double crochets. As I said, for round number 1, we want to crochet 11 double crochets into our circle. And once you've crocheted your 11 double crochets, we'll meet each other again at the end of round number 1. So now that I've crocheted my 11 double crochets into my circle, I want to close my very first round by crocheting 1 slip stitch into the 3rd chain that we've chained in the beginning of round number 1. For a slip stitch, I now want to insert my hook into the very 3rd chain, and then I want to yarn over and pull my yarn through all the loops on my hook. And our first round is completed now. I now want to start my second round by chaining 3 first. These 3 chains we want to count now as our very first double crochet. Now I want to work my double crochet into the same space where my 3 chains are laying on. So I just yarn over, and as I said, I want to work my first double crochet into the very first space. And because our 3 chains are counting now as 1 double crochet, we've already increased this very first stitch. And now I want to go to my next stitch and increase it as well by crocheting 2 double crochets in it, because in round number 2 we now want to increase every stitch by crocheting 2 double crochets in it. At the end of round number 2, we will then have 24 double crochets. And so please just continue to crochet in every stitch 2 double crochets, and we'll meet each other again at the end of round number 2. At the end of our second round, we should now have in total 24 double crochets. Please make sure to always count your 3 chains from the beginning as your very first double crochet. And I want to close up my second round now by crocheting a slip stitch again in the very 3rd chain from the beginning. And our second round is now completed. I want to start my third round now by chaining 3 again in the beginning. And as I said, those 3 chains we want to count as our very first double crochet. And now I want to crochet 1 double crochet into the same space where my 3 chains are laying on. And I've increased now already my very first stitch. I want to increase now again every stitch in round number 3 as well, just the same way as we did it in round number 2. In the end of round number 3, we will then have in total 48 single crochets by increasing every stitch from the round before with 2 double crochets. I'm now nearly finished with my third round as well. I've just got 1 more stitch left that I want to increase to by crocheting 2 double crochets in it. And then I want to close my third round as well by crocheting a slip stitch into the very third chain. I want to start my fourth round now by chaining 3 in the beginning again. And I want to work my very first double crochet into the same space where my 3 chains are laying on, just like this. And now I want to crochet 1 chain. And I want to skip 1 double crochet from my round before and go to my very next double crochet. I now skip this stitch from the round before and I want to go to the following stitch and crochet 2 double crochets in it again. Then I want to chain 1 and then I want to skip again 1 stitch from the round before and go to my very next stitch and crochet 2 double crochets in it again. So what we want to do now in round number 4 is to always crochet 2 double crochets. Then we want to chain 1 and skip the following double crochet from the round before and go to the very next double crochet, and then we want to crochet in it 2 double crochets again and chain 1 and skip again the next following double crochet. Please continue to crochet this pattern till the end of round number 4. You'll then have from this 2 double crochets and 1 chains 24, and we will meet each other again when you're at the very end of round number 4. I'm now nearly at the end of round number 4. I've just chained 1 and want to skip this following double crochet from the round before and go to that next stitch and crochet again 2 double crochets and 1 chain in it. And I've got now from this 2 double crochets and 1 chain 24 in this round. I want to close up again round number 4 by crocheting 1 slip stitch in the third chain that we've started our round with. Then I want to chain 1 and just cut my yarn off and pull it now through that chain 1, like this, because we want to continue now to crochet our strawberry potholders with our red yarn. Now that I've completed round number 4 by cutting through my yarn and pulling it through the very last chain, I already sewed up all the ends of my green yarn on the back of my work. I want to continue now crocheting with my red yarn, and for this I want to insert my hook in any of those 1 chain places. It really doesn't matter which one you choose, and I want to insert my hook now into the chain 1 space like this, grab up my red yarn and pull it through. And I want to chain with my red yarn now 4 chains, and those 4 chains will count as our very first double crochet. I want to crochet now into the same chain 1 space 2 more double crochets like this. This is my first one and my second one. And now I want to chain 2 and I want to skip this 2 double crochets and go to my very next chain 1 space and crochet 3 double crochets in it. This is the first one, my second double crochet and my third double crochet. And then I want to chain 2 again and go to my next chain 1 space and crochet 3 double crochets in it. In our first round with our red yarn, we now want to always go to that 1 chain spaces and crochet 3 double crochets in it. Then we want to crochet 2 chains and go to the next chain 1 space. Please make sure to complete your first round with your red yarn like this. Always crochet into your chain 1 spaces, 3 double crochets, then please just chain 2 and go to your next chain 1 space and crochet 3 double crochets in it again. And once you're finished with round number 1, we will meet each other again for round number 2. I'm now nearly at the end of round number 1 with my red yarn. As you can see, I've just crocheted into my second last chain 1 space, 3 double crochets. And of course I want to chain again 2 chains after my 3 double crochets, and I've got 1 last space left. And into that very last chain 1 space, I of course want to crochet 3 double crochets as well. This is my first one, my second double crochet, and my third double crochet. And I want to close up now my first round with my red yarn. After my 3 double crochets, I of course want to chain again 2 chains and go to that 4 chains that we've started our round with. And into the 4th chain, I want to crochet now a slip stitch, just like this. And we want to start our rounds now always by slip stitching into our chains and into the following double crochets as well. So I want to go now to that very first double crochet and crochet a slip stitch on top of it. And I want to do the same thing with my second double crochet. I just insert my hook and crochet 1 slip stitch. And now I'm again at that space with the 2 chains that we've just crocheted in the beginning of our first round with the red yarn. And I want to go to that 2 chain space and crochet a slip stitch in it as well. Now I want to make my loop a bit bigger, and I want to mark my work now into that last 2 chain space that we've just crocheted before we closed up our first round. I want to now insert my very first stitch marker. So into that last 2 chains that we've just crocheted at the end of round number 1, I want to mark now my work with my stitch marker before we slip stitched our way to that next 2 chain space. And now we've completed our first round, and what we've done is to create 24 of these 3 double crochets and 2 chain spaces. We want to mark now our chain 2 space between our 12th and 13th of those things. So I just want to start to count now. This is my first one, the second, the third, number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12, and this will be exactly the half of my work. And between this 12 and 13 3 double crochet, I want to mark now the chain 2 space as well, just like this. And I want to make sure that I really counted right, so I just want to start counting again. This is the first 3 double crochets, the second, third, number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and my 12th. And now I can be sure that I've marked my work right, and I want to show you how I crochet my second round with my red yarn. So we've just finished our first round with our red yarn by crocheting slip stitches to that very first 2 chain space, and we want to start now our second round by crocheting 3 chains in the beginning. Those 3 chains we want to count as our very first double crochet, and I've already sewed up the end of my red yarn on the back of my work as well. As I said, those 3 chains we want to count now as our very first double crochet. So I just want to crochet 2 more double crochets into that chain 2 space. This is my first one and my second double crochet. And because we want to count those 3 chains in the beginning as our first double crochet, we have now 3 in total. And after I've crocheted my 2 double crochets, I now want to chain 2 and go to my next chain 2 space, and into that chain 2 space I now want to crochet 3 double crochets as well. So we want to start our rounds now by always crocheting 3 chains first and then 2 double crochets, and in every following chain 2 space we want to crochet always our 3 double crochets. I've just completed my 3 double crochets, and I want to chain 2 again and go to my next chain 2 space, and I want to crochet in it as well first 3 double crochets. So please continue to crochet always in your chain 2 spaces 3 double crochets, then chain 2 and go to your next 2 chain space. We want to continue to crochet now in every 2 chain space 3 double crochets, and then we want to chain 2 and go to our next 2 chain space. Please continue to crochet this pattern till you're at this 2 chain space before you are at your stitch marker, because then we want to meet up again and I want to show you how you crochet this round. I've now crocheted this pattern till I'm at the last 2 chain space before my stitch marker comes, and what I want to do now after I've crocheted my 3 double crochets and chain 2 is to crochet into that very last 2 chain space before my stitch marker, my 3 double crochets again, just like this, and then I want to chain 2 again. And we've crocheted now in our second round from this 3 double crochets and 2 chains, 11 so far. And now that I've crocheted into that very last 2 chain space, my 3 double crochets and my 2 chains before the stitch marker, I now just want to skip that 2 chain space with my stitch marker and go to the following chain 2 space. And now I want to crochet in it again, my 3 double crochets, just like this. And what we've done now is to skip that 2 chain space with our stitch marker, and we want to do that every following round too. I want to show you again in round number 3 how I do it one more time. Actually, all we want to do now is to skip that 2 chain space with our stitch marker round by round, and by skipping this in the beginning and in the middle of every round, we are decreasing our 3 double crochets and 2 chain spaces. In our first round we had 12 of these 3 double crochets and 2 chain spaces. In our second round we now do have 11 of those 3 double crochets and 2 chain spaces. So please just continue to crochet now your pattern after you skip that 2 chain space with your stitch marker. Now that I've crocheted my 3 double crochets, I again want to chain 2 and just go to my next chain 2 space, and I want to continue now to crochet this pattern till I'm at the very last 2 chain space before my second stitch marker comes. And then I want to show you how you close up your second round and start your third round. I'm now nearly at the end of my second round with my red yarn, and I've got one more chain 2 space left before my second stitch marker comes. So I want to crochet now into that last 2 chain space my 3 double crochets again, just like this. And as I said, I'm now at the end of round number 2. This is my second stitch marker, and now that I've crocheted my 3 double crochets into that very last 2 chain space before my stitch marker comes, I want to crochet again my 2 chains and skip that very last 2 chain space with my stitch marker again. And what I want to do now is to go to that 3 chains that we've crocheted in the beginning of our second round, and I want to insert my hook now into that 3rd chain and work a slip stitch in it. And we've just closed up now our second round. And I want to start now every following round by slip stitching my way to that first 2 chain space. So I've got 2 more double crochets, and I want to crochet 1 slip stitch in each of it, just like this. And into that 2 chain space I now want to crochet 1 slip stitch as well. And we want to start now every round by slip stitching our way to that 2 chain space. After that we want to crochet again our 3 chains. Those 3 chains we want to count again as our very first double crochet. And into that same 2 chain space we want to crochet now our 2 double crochets. Then we want to crochet 2 chains and go to our next 2 chain space and crochet 3 double crochets in it again. And after that I want to chain again 2 and go to my next 2 chain space. Please continue to crochet this pattern till you're again at your first stitch marker. And I want to show you then one more time how we crochet into that 2 chain space. I'm now already in my 3rd round at my first stitch marker, as you can see, and I've got 1 2 chain space left, and I want to crochet in it again my 3 double crochets, just like this. And now I'm at the very first stitch marker in round number 3, and I want to skip again this whole space and want to go to the following one. So after I've crocheted my 3 double crochets, I want to chain again my 2 chains and just skip now again this space with my stitch marker and go to my next 2 chain space. And into it I want to crochet normally my 3 double crochets as we've done it the whole time. Then I want to crochet again my 2 chains and want to continue now to crochet this pattern till I'm at my second stitch marker in round number 3. And when you're then at that 2 chain space before your second stitch marker, I want to show you again how we want to close up this whole round and start with round number 4. I'm now nearly at the end of round number 3 and I've got 1 2 chain space left again before my stitch marker comes, and I want to crochet in that very last 2 chain space before my stitch marker my 3 double crochets again, just like this. Then I want to chain 2 and skip again this 2 chain space where my second stitch marker is, and I want to close now my third round by crocheting a slip stitch into that very third chain that we've crocheted in the beginning of round number 3, just like this. Then I want to slip stitch again till I'm at that 2 chain space. I just want to insert my hook on top of that double crochet and crochet 1 slip stitch in it. Into that next double crochet I want to crochet again 1 slip stitch, and then I want to crochet into that 2 chain space 1 more slip stitch. And of course I want to start now round number 4 by crocheting 3 chains again. We want to continue now to crochet our strawberry round by round, and because we always skip these 2 chain spaces at the end and in the middle of our work, our strawberry always gets more tiny by each round. I've already completed my first strawberry and I want to show you now how it turns out when you're finished with the whole thing. This is my first strawberry pot holder that I've already completed. The second one I'm now crocheting to go with you, and with our red yarn we'll have in total 12 rounds till we're finished with our whole strawberry. Please just continue to crochet your strawberry pot holders round by round, and at the end of round number 10 I want to show you then how we close up this whole thing. I've just completed round number 10, and as you can see I have in round number 10 just 3 of those 3 double crochets and 2 chain spaces left on each side. I now want to continue to crochet my 11th and my 12th round together with you. After I slip stitched my way to my very first 2 chain space for round number 11, I want to start again my 11th round by crocheting 3 chains first, and into that same 2 chain space I now want to crochet 2 more double crochets. Actually we don't change anything in the pattern, I just want to show you how I close my strawberry pot holders up. After I've crocheted now those 2 double crochets, I want to chain 2 as usual and go to my next chain 2 space, and into it I want to crochet again my 3 double crochets. This is my second and my third double crochet. Now I want to chain 2 again. So now that I've crocheted my 2 chains, I'm again at that 2 chain space that we always skip in our rounds. This is the middle of my work. I now want to just skip that very first stitch marker. It is just down there, and go to my next chain 2 space and crochet 3 double crochets in it again. This is the first one, my second and my third double crochet. Then I want to chain 2 again and go to my next chain 2 space and crochet 3 double crochets in it as well, just like this. This was the second one and my third double crochet. I want to chain 2 again, and now I'm again at the last chain 2 space that we always skip at the end of our round, and I want to go to that third chain that we just crocheted for the beginning of round number 11 and work a slip stitch on top of it. And now we are already at the end of our work, because we have 1 more round left now. I want to crochet my slip stitches again onto that 2 double crochets as well, just like this. And now I want to crochet 1 more slip stitch into the very last chain 2 space. I now want to crochet my 3 chains just like this and crochet 2 more double crochets into that very last chain 2 space. Then I want to chain 2 and turn my work around, and as you can see there are no more 2 chain spaces left. This is the 2 chain space that we always just skip, I want to just turn my work around and go to that very last 2 chain space and crochet again 3 double crochets in it. All we want to do now is to crochet 2 more chains. We want to skip again this very big gap with the 2 chains. We always skip it at the end of our rounds, and we want to close up now round number 12 by going to that 3rd chain that we've just crocheted in the beginning, and we want to crochet a slip stitch on top of it. And our whole strawberry looks like this right now. What we want to do now is to close our work up with slip stitches. I just want to place this 3 double crochets on each side, just like this. And I want to go now to that very first double crochet on the front and grab it up in the back as well and crochet 1 slip stitch on top of it. I want to do that with all the stitches that follow now. I just want to insert my hook in the front and in the back on the next stitch, grab up my yarn and work a slip stitch. As I said, I just continue to do that till I'm at the end of this row. This is my very last stitch that I want to grab in the front and in the back as well, and crochet 1 slip stitch on top of it. And now I want to chain 1 and cut my yarn off. It just looks like this. I want to show you how our strawberry turned out. So now that we've completed our first strawberry pot holder, we'll of course need a second one, and then we want to connect both of them with a fruit stalk. Now that I've already crocheted 2 of those lovely little strawberry pot holders, I want to connect them with a stalk. I want to show you how I crochet my stalk. Please just complete your second strawberry pot holder as well, and then grab your green yarn. I want to insert my hook now into the middle of this green field. This means there where we started to crochet our strawberry pot holders, I want to insert my hook right in the middle and grab the front and the back stitch together. Then I want to grab my green yarn and pull it through. I want to secure this whole thing now by chaining 1, just like this. Now that I've chained 1, I want to make that loop on my hook very, very big by just pulling on my hook like this. And as you can see, this loop now just turned out very big. I want to yarn over now and insert my hook again into the same space like this. Then I want to yarn over and pull my yarn through, and again I want to just make all the loops on my hook very big. This is the only thing you have to take care of. Every time you yarn over and insert your hook, you want to yarn over again and make sure to just make these loops on your hook very, very big like this. This was the second time. I want to do this 5 times. So I yarn over, insert my hook, yarn over and pull it through again. As I said, I want to do that 5 times. So this is the 4th and the 5th one. And I've just created now these very big loops. I want to yarn over now after I've done it 5 times and just pull my yarn through all the loops on my hook. And now that I've created this little bubble, I want to grab this very first loop with my left hand and crochet 1 slip stitch in it to close my bubble up. I want to chain now 1. And I want to do this whole thing again. After I've chained 1, I want to make this loop on my hook very big again. I want to yarn over and just insert my hook now onto the top of the very first bubble like this. I want to yarn over and pull my yarn through. And again, please make sure to always make your loops very, very big. I want to do that now again 5 times. This was the second one, my 3rd time, my 4th loop, and I want to do it 1 more time like this. And again I've inserted my hook 5 times in here and pulled up my loops very loose so that they are just big. And what I want to do now is to yarn over 1 more time and just pull my yarn through all the loops on my hook. Then I want to grab again the very first loop and crochet 1 slip stitch into it. I want to chain 1 and again make this loop on my hook big. And I just now want to continue to make these bubbles. I think I'll do 20 or 18 of them. I will tell you when I'm finished with them. And then I want to show you how you connect these bubbles with your second strawberry pot holder. I've completed my stalk now by crocheting 20 of these bubbles. If you want it to be more long, you can of course add more bubbles. And I've already crocheted my slip stitch into the very first loop and chained 1 now. And I want to connect these 2 strawberries now together by grabbing up my second strawberry. And then I want to crochet one slip stitch again in the center of this green field. I just want to insert my hook into the front and back stitch like this. Then I want to pull up my yarn and just pull it through all the loops on my hook. This was my very first slip stitch now. I want to continue to crochet like 3 or 4 more slip stitches. I want to show you how I do that. I insert my hook just into the same space again. Then I want to insert my hook through the top of my 20th bubble as well. Just like this. I want to yarn over and pull my yarn through all the loops on my hook again. Just like that. Make sure to crochet 2 more slip stitches to really secure your whole stalk to your second strawberry. And once you sewed up all your ends of your yarn, we'll see each other again. So now that we sewed up all our ends, our strawberry pot holders are finished. And as you can see, they turned out very beautiful. And I really hope that you enjoyed to crochet this pattern together with me. And if you have now as beautiful strawberry pot holders as I have, please make sure to subscribe my channel and comment and like this video. You would really help me a lot, and I really do hope that we'll see each other the next time again.